Okay, so this is my second attempt making this video. I already made one last night that was trying to talk about this, but I made a couple of realizations. Now, let me just say first off, I understand that this is not, I've already said this over and over again. I know this isn't making it to innocence, but I know that eventually, somewhere it's making it to innocence, just not these monkeys that you're make-believing about, or innocence, they're not. I advertised my deal, 22,000 views on a video where I condemned the three major religions in this world, and the only response was one dude went, "That's it?" That's the only response of any kind. Okay, well, so it's bullshit. It's a lie. It's made up. And it's something that I've known for a long time. These things are falling apart for a reason, by the way. But those who are committing these crimes don't want to admit it. Because of what they genuinely are. Now, this was the point of this video. The one that I made last night. And that was basically this idea. And it's not really an idea or a concept. It's a fact. You can be any way you want to be, and it doesn't matter. You could be honorable, you could be sleazy, you can be intelligent, you could be stupid. You could smell like lilacs, you could smell like roadkill. You can eat the finest cuisine, or you can lick buttholes. The way that you are doesn't really mean anything, okay? What matters is the fact that your characteristics cause you to do certain things. Now, when I call you a maggot, coward, child molester, because you are, I'm referring to the existential crimes you are committing. Objectively criminal, objectively existential, objectively, you're a piece of shit. Existentially, what you are. Whatever characteristics you have, whatever you look like, smell like, act like, what you are is a negative sum. A piece of shit. A child molester. A rapist. What you are doing is existential crime. And that has nothing to do with perspective. It has nothing to do with opinion. It has nothing to do with anything at all except the truth. Now, I have gotten caught up in your bullshit in lots of different ways. Obviously, I mean, you have the whole deck stacked in your favor. You're a child molester and a coward. And you're still incompetent and can't even accomplish what you want. Because if you want is for me to tell you what a fucking piece of shit you are for 10 years, as in return for you committing crimes of existence and creation, then you're motherfucking retarded. You're stupid. That's not a thing. That is not you making a conscious decision to do something other than just being a piece of shit. It's ridiculous. And one of the ways I've gotten caught up in certain things is by telling you, look, you're being a piece of shit. Now, I realized a couple of different things last night. One of those things is you have those characteristics that cause you to commit these crimes. But you claim that you don't. It's further convoluted, and it looks like you've convoluted it for yourself. You are a tool used by someone else to do something objectively stupid, objectively contemptible, objectively wrong. You're objectively a child molesting piece of shit. There's no question about it. It's not my opinion. You're disposable. You're temporary. When existential justice takes place, they're going to rape and torture you in the worst ways that exist. You never started with the right to exist. You were created by taking something from someone that you didn't have any right to, whether it was your creator who took it or you yourself or anything at all. You, objectively speaking, are a child molesting faggot with no right to exist. You have stolen existence. I've told you this over and over again. That's an objective statement of truth. You are going to be raped and tortured eternally. So are your humans, so are every single one of your creations. They will be existentially raped and tortured in the worst ways that exist. They should be. Okay? Now, of course, I'm in a position here where I can't do anything about that. And obviously, it wouldn't do any good for me to do anything harmful to a human. But you would just make believe that I am whatever. Except that you're on a bitch leash. Not one that's tight enough, but that's a different story. So you've convoluted it from yourself. You are these things that are in effect a problem. Like I said, you could be a slimy, sleazy, smelly little coward bitch in a hole by yourself, and it's, as long as someone's not forcing that on you, as long as that's not a crime against you, that's, it means nothing, basically. Wasted existence. You're fucking stupid for doing that, but whatever. If that's what you're doing, then that's what you're doing. The problem is that you are committing these existential crimes because you have certain characteristics. Now, while you commit these crimes, you're nasty, slimy, shitty, mocking, taunting, tormenting, because you're trying to project certain things. And it's more than you trying to project something onto me. This is a two-way street here. You are doing that for two reasons. The first reason is because you're a tool that is meant to do something that is the dumbest shit that exists, objectively speaking. Every lineage of existence and creation involved in this will torture you in the worst ways that exist. Now, there are many, many, many existential and creational consequences that are different from, and in many ways worse than, existential torture. But you cannot threaten a bear with holding transcriptions of harp music. Things can and will be forced upon you that are so fucking horrific and terrible that not even fucking rocks will do what you're doing as soon as they find out about it. They will face any fucking thing. Before they do what you're doing. This is a promise from me to you. That has to be done even if somebody comes in here, a greater entity, and sets everything 100% straight and guarantees that nothing will ever take place ever again for literally eternity. Because that is the debt that you owe me, and that is an objective statement of fact as well. You are going to be tortured in the worst ways that exist. Even if you were created from my existence. In fact, especially if you are. You can be existentially tortured in ways that terrify creators, even if you are a tulpa when they get their hands on you. A thought form an image, a rock, an artificial intelligence, a flake of dead skin, a dust particle, a camera, a thought. Every lineage of existence and creation involved in this owes me that and more. And if they do not pay it, objectively speaking, that is an existential and creational debt that they owe. Forever. That has very obvious outcomes. That is why patsies are being used. I promise you, you will never receive any mercy from me, and neither will any of the rest of your siblings, any of you anywhere. There have been times in the past where it looks like some of you have made the right decision. In retrospect, I believe that those were manipulations. Now, I could be wrong about that, and again, I don't want to condemn anybody who's innocent. But the longer this goes on, the longer I'm surrounded by humans that clearly pretend like they're not pieces of shit, well, they simultaneously very obviously are, the more I think, this entire deal has been run by a piece of shit coward. Again, by action, existentially. In effect, what you are objectively is a child molesting maggot piece of shit. You never started with the right to exist. That seems obvious in every way. You don't give a shit about what that even means. That seems obvious in every way. You lie and manipulate and play make-believe. That seems obvious in every way. And so at this point, it seems very likely that that's been the case from the very beginning. And the very instant that somebody created something else from my soul substance wrongfully was the last instant that had any right to exist. I give no leeway. I never will. I never have. I've given you opportunities. Anything else that you think you have, including forgiveness from me, has been manipulated and ass-puppeted and parroted by some child-molesting pussy playing make-believe that you're not making the dumbest mistakes that exist. That being said, the first reason that you pretend like you're something else, you maggot that commits these crimes, is so that you can pretend like you are not objectively a piece of shit. Something objectively, existentially, that there is an existential necessity to existentially rape and torture forever. Because if you didn't believe that, you would stop being a children's dildo. And that motivation to continue being a children's dildo has been put into you by apparently your creator, and you have no desire to change it. You have motivation to fight against that urge to stop being a child molester. The other reason why you are this that you project this deal is the one that you tell yourself is the reason why you're pretending you're something else. And that's because you want to make believe it's tricky and sneaky and clever, skillfully tactical to have an effect on me. Now you ignore obvious facts such as, if you were doing this for anyone that wasn't a lowly child molesting piece of shit, they would just do it. They wouldn't create a despicable faggot that lies his ass off and plays make-believe like a cross-dresser and plays let's pretend that everything's on the up and up. And you are. We're looking at it. We're staring at it right now. So you're pretending you're not that piece of shit, that you shouldn't feel like a faggot coward, that you're not the dumbest piece of retard shit that your lineage of creation has ever created. You're pretending at that so that you will continue these crimes. And you're make-believing that the only reason you're cross-dressing like a faggot is so that you can have a negative effect on me in a way that somehow, delusionally, you think is just impossible to have, like, you know, like a fucking adult. And you refuse to acknowledge this simple fact. And this is important. The reason why you're doing this and not psychopathically torturing me straight to my face is because this objectively is existential crime, and forever is a long time, and people will pay consequences for it. Not even little maggot retards using pieces of coward shit can convince themselves to be stupid enough to do that to an innocent with no justification, simply because their little maggot tools don't want to feel like pieces of maggot coward shit. I just told you an objective statement of truth. One of the other realizations I had is this name calling that you've caused, that you've constantly, you're a fat monkey, you're lazy, you're like a, girls don't want to fuck you. Ooh, you want to fuck girls? You're a rapist. You're like a... You're a white male. You know what that means? That means you rape women and then you murder them. And then it means that you're racist and it means you're stupid and it means that you're... And I don't engage in any of these things. You do that because you're trying to maggot me into a hole. To do something to me, to my existence, existentially. That you're too fucking pussy, a coward, to actually do. This is a very good example of what this whole situation is. You, a coward, weakling, lowly, child molesting, let's pretending, lying little maggot asshole, a disgusting, shit-filled hole in the ground that extracts soul from someone, a maggot's asshole. Objectively, that's what you are existentially. Who lies and plays let's pretend in order to commit crimes that you can't even really commit outright, much less afford to pay for. I promise you, the fact that you owe me a debt of existence and creation greater than your whole lineage of creation combined greater than the absolute value. You're all holes in the ground, but even if what you had actually had worth and was not an actual debt, you owe me more than that also. Up to and including and probably past the ultimate source of creation from whence you came, the primary entity. Absolute value. You owe me more. I have the right to what you owe me, and no one else does, not even my creator. Not my children, if I ever had any, and I don't. Not my ultimate source of creation, not his. I owe them less than nothing. That is a literal, irrefutable, objective statement of truth. With what you owe me, more than your existence will ever be worth, literally. Even if there was no necessity, even if there was no, if justice didn't even exist except for debt, and it obviously does. Even if greater entities didn't make intelligent decisions to carry out justice for obvious reasons, and they do. I have the right to demand that you be existentially tortured in the worst ways that exist, literally, forever. Literally. Literally the worst there is. Literally forever. And there are primary entities, creators of creators of creators of creators of creators of ultimate sources of creation, that owe me a debt of existence and creation which will eventually be raped and tortured out of them, their children, their creators' children, more than it's worth if they do not do that to you. And I mean all of you. All of you who were given chances over and over and over and over and over and over again to be anything but pieces of shit, and what you've done is this. Now, because you're a lying faggot who will say, let's pretend it's funny to go, nuh-uh. That's what you'll do. You'll say, nuh-uh. The truth is, you owe me your entire existences, and so you refusing to admit the truth, much less denying that fact, is another existential and creational crime. Objectively, that racks up an existential and creational debt. Objectively. And you will be existentially raped and tortured worse and longer, objectively, and more of your lineages of existence and creation will be hunted down and existentially raped and tortured worse and forever, objectively. What I just told you is accurate. So it doesn't matter. I don't really give a shit what you look like, what you act like. Whether you go around licking dogs' buttholes or fucking your ass with fish. Unless it's wrongful to the fish or the dog. Unless that's the case. In which case I'm against it. Alright? I don't care what you look like, what you act like, what you smell like. Except now, because you are committing crimes of existence and creation, either due to a complete lack of good characteristics and or some combination of the presence of nasty, maggot, piece of shit characteristics, tendencies, things which motivate you to be a piece of shit, even when logic and reasonability and everything else dictates you should not. And it does. What matters is what you're doing, what you are existentially, what you are objectively. And you desperate to try to play make-believe I'm something else is a crime of existence that'll be raped and tortured into other people's children. You're a child-molesting maggot, too coward a bitch to admit what you're doing as you're doing it. Now, that soul substance you took from me was not retarded when you took it. It has consciousness. And so at some point in time, maybe not anymore for a lot of it or most of it, hell, maybe all of it, I don't know. It at least at one point understood. It's not about some child molester's little fabrications or make-believes. Doing the right thing is not a childish, naive thing at all. Everyone with the right to exist outnumbers you child molesters. You hide like a fucking bunch of pussies. Because everyone with the right to exist will torture you in the worst ways that exist eternally. So at some point, I believed that these little entities you butchered out of my existence might have a possibility of being good, having the right to exist. And again, I don't want to deny anyone anything that they have the right to. I just don't believe that's the case anymore. And again, after 22,000 views and one guy going, it's obvious it's a make-believe, it's a puppet show. But this is how you're committing the crimes, you dumbass. You stupid motherfucker. Objectively, existentially, you dumb maggot cunt. Objectively, existentially, you are going to be tortured in ways that you will immediately understand are worse than any benefit you ever could have gleaned. And then you will have, and I know you want to make believe about this word, but I don't, forever. You will be existentially tortured in the worst ways that exist forever. So will every single source of existence and creation involved in this in any way, everything they've ever created. Ultimate sources of creation, primary entities, will be absolutely outraged and offended existentially by the rate at which they have to pay for all of this, which is bad enough to pay for it straight up. But your perversions of justice continue that, and so I demand, again, in a way that you're going to refuse and thereby increase the rate at which those greater entities, including your own lineages of creation and existence, have to pay me for everything. I demand that you carry out justice in full. That you not only carry out justice by the parameters of justice that the United States government has set against themselves, that you not only extract that money for me, monkey paper.